David O'Brien, Braves writer at The Athletic, and with my co-host Eric O'Flaherty, former Braves reliever. What's going on, Eric?
Not much. How you doing, Dave?
I'm all right, man. Uh, let's start with the positive today from from what was a rough 4 days in DC for the Braves, who lost another four-game series to the Nationals, which is I'm astounded that they lost six games. I know the Nationals are a lot better than they were a year ago, but they lost six games, 6 out of 8 games to them in span of 2 weeks, home and away series, which is kind of the state of where the Braves are right now. But the positive today, besides the first three innings by Hurston Waldrop, which I thought were really impressive. First time through the order, he was really good. But your boy Javi, I'm sorry, Javi, Jesse Chavez got his 1,000th strikeout today. Coach,
That's nuts. That is
Coach got
nuts.
his 1,000th strikeout. If somebody told you with Jesse when you knew him back in 2010 or whatever, that he's going to still be pitching, that he's going to have 1,000 strikeouts someday, you would have said, yeah, he's like the last guy on his team. I think that.
I would have not thought that. I mean, but that's the beauty of baseball is things can click. You can find your identity kind of late, and it's beautiful for him because he didn't have an easy journey. I think he got up to the big leagues kind of quick, but it was a lot of up and down. It was a lot of the kind of long man, burn you out, send you down type of stuff, and he earned every one of those because I mean, he even pitched so well that Oakland let him start for a while. So that
Yeah.
probably helped him pad those numbers and get there. He didn't get there strictly as a reliever, but
And he
uh
was good as a starter for them too. For 1 year, he was
oh
really
yeah.
good.
Yeah, he locked in. I mean, I always tell a story of there was a time when early in spring training, so you have a bunch of minor leaguers coming up and the non-roster invite guys. And in Oakland, the PFP field was like a direct line behind the pitchers throwing their bullpens. So you could see the pitches that Jesse was throwing. And you got a lot of time to stand around because you're in a line, you do your rep, you throw to the base, and then you get to the back of it, and everybody kind of looks
Right.
over, and Jesse's throwing a bullpen. The glove doesn't move for like 15 out of 16 pitches that we watched. And these guys were just blown away. And I was
Yeah.
like, that's what he does. And, with his stuff, he had better stuff, and he's gotten old. I mean, he's 40
Yeah.
something.
He was high
It,
90s.
yeah. Yeah. When I saw him the first time I saw him throw, he was 96, 97, and it was
Hmm.
easy. And he was probably 50 pounds lighter than he is now. I mean, he was like a buck 45.
Yeah.
And so he went from that, and then he found himself, in Oakland. He learned a cutter, and he could put his cutter on both sides of the plate. And now, if you watch him pitch today, that glove does not move much. So,
Yeah.
anyways, these minor leaguers were just blown away that anybody has that much control. And I think that's kind of, in today's game to do what he's doing with the stuff he still has left it's really impressive to me because you just can't miss the glove.
Yeah. I mean, there's only a few pitchers even like him at all in the major leagues anymore,
No.
and none in prominent relief roles. I mean, he's a throwback. He's a different he's reinvented himself several times over the
Yep.
course of his career after injuries and with diminished stuff. He's used guile and just
Heart.
smarts over the
So
years,
much heart.
heart, guts, yeah. And being a terrific teammate.
Yep.
Because if he was an asshole, he would have got released. He would not, people wouldn't have keep bringing him back. I mean, he was good,
Yeah.
but he hasn't been good for very many teams except the Braves in the last
Yeah.
5, 6 years. Been great for the Braves, but he's been such a great teammate that people kept giving him chances because you ask about him, and most teams have had a guy that played with him at some point, and they're going to say, "Oh yeah, he's terrific, man. You got to
Yeah.
get him."
Yeah. Yeah. He's real
So
cerebral and he's creative. So he might say something in a way to a young guy that makes more sense than what you always hear. But yeah, I was just that would have been the last guy on the 2010 Braves team I thought would still be pitching out of everybody we had because he was having to earn it. And I said heart because it beats you up being in that long man role. It's thankless, and a lot of times you get your innings and you're going down even if you pitch well.
yeah,
So to be able to stick that out and just keep grinding like that and not get broken by the ups and downs of that role and find himself where he is today is pretty cool.
and he was a hard partier in his younger years too, and he's throttled that back and
I don't
no
know
to
if he's not
survive.
now. I haven't
Not
seen
like
him
he
in a while,
was,
but
not like he was.
yeah, he can put him down. That's
But
probably, I mean, just as impressive as anything.
so he went in the end in a 2/3 today, scoreless with 3 strikeouts and what 2 walks. Let me make sure on that. 3 strikeouts and 2 walks, which is a lot for him. But hitless. Whittled his ERA to 1.37. I mean, it is crazy how he keeps coming back to the Braves and putting up these numbers and then either starting spring training with another team or gets traded to another team. But it does nothing for other teams. It comes back here and everything clicks. He's comfortable with these guys, with the coaches, with the manager, with the surroundings, the way they use it, everything, teammates. But I mean, here he is, 40 years old. He's got a 1.37 ERA right now in 20 appearances for the Braves.
I'll tell you what's a good combo is Snit managing him because there's something about the confidence boost you get when a manager throws you into a big situation. And Snit has the balls to do it. I think he goes to a lot of teams and they see his stuff. Maybe you get a game or two and blow one. They're going to stay away from the guy throwing 91 and placing it and go with the sure thing of the 99 power arm. But Snit has the balls to throw him in the 8th inning of a tie game. And it's
Yeah.
just something about that. It just boosts your confidence that they believe in you, that you can do it. And then you get one of those, you know, 1 or 2 of those under your belt, and all of a sudden you're rolling and your confidence is high. But I think more than anything, his success with the Braves just speaks to comfort and confidence and how important it is in baseball.
And this is a guy that last year, remember, he was being seriously mentioned as a candidate for the All-Star team with his sub-1 ERA before he got hit with the line drive that broke his leg. Came back at the end of the year. Wasn't the same after missing that much time. But he had a 1.56 ERA in 36 appearances for the Braves last year. In between, he goes to the White Sox. Spring training, can't even make their opening day roster. Gets released by the White Sox.
Yep.
You don't think they could use him right now with the way he's pitching for the Braves? But
I don't think
comes
he's
out,
pitching like that there
yeah,
either.
in the spring he obviously wasn't. But
No.
the year before that, he has a 2.72 ERA in 46 appearances for the Braves. After starting that season with the Cubs and having a 6.35 ERA in 3 appearances, getting traded to the Angels by the Braves just so they could pick up a piece for the stretch drive. Only spent a month with the Angels, had a 7.59 ERA in 11 appearances with them, comes back to the Braves and keeps pitching great for the Braves.
Yeah.
So just year after year after year, it's insane, man. But it's awesome, and I hope he can keep doing it as long as he wants to do it. And I'm
It does.
sure,
It happens too, where like you just happen to love the mounds in a certain division. He must
yeah,
love that Truist Park mound. You know, maybe he loves Philly, so you get to be on these fields that you've had success with on a lot, and kind
right.
of keep repeating that. That helped me a lot too. I love pitching in the NL East.
He said he also liked he didn't get used to being in Arizona for spring training, the drier weather. He couldn't grip the ball as well with the stuff he throws. That's
Yeah.
important to him. So the Atlanta humidity and all that he does like it. He loves pitching here. But I'm sure the day he retires and as he retire, he's going to get a couple of offers to coach somewhere, including probably with the Braves at some level in their organization.
Yeah. Yeah, I would think so.
He's too much. That guy's got too much going for him to share with others to not have him around your young players. I mean, he's
Well, and those are the guys usually that learn the most. You know, I mean, that's kind of a thing that people say in baseball that the best players don't always make the best coaches.
right,
And I'm going
right.
through it like when things are simple for you. For me, I'm trying to teach little kids right now, and I got nothing for them because I have no practice instructing and coaching
Right,
and stuff that's just second nature for me.
right,
You know, they're
right,
not even close to being able to repeat anything. So it's like
right.
I seriously have nothing to offer these 6, 7, 8, 9 year olds, and I know what they're doing wrong, but I don't have, you know, the
Right,
experience to communicate it to them and kind of crack their code. And they say it's kind of similar with some of the best coaches are guys that sucked, you know, that
right.
I mean, they're still pro ball players, but they topped out in Double A, and they know the pain and the grind and the struggle and trying to figure it out,
Yep.
trying to crack the code and that versus if you have a guy that's a 320 hitter his whole career and hit 400 home runs, it's like maybe he was really smart, and a lot of times they are, but there's also guys that it just came so natural they don't have to
Yeah.
think about it. But a
Guys
guy
like
like
Chipper.
Jesse that's figured out how this league at 91, you don't want
Yeah,
him talking to your guy that throws 97. You know, like there's
exactly.
so much that he can teach people.
Yeah. and a personality, bilingual. I mean, just everything is there for him to be and he wants to do it. He's already said he wants to coach when he's done. He wants to coach. So
He's a
coach
lifer.
wants to coach.
He's a lifer.
Yeah, he is. So anyway, that was the positive out of today. Braves are still waiting to get Mentor back. His 15 days isn't up, but it's up soon, and he's doing well. So it looks like that hip is healing. So they want to get him an inning and then have him ready. Maybe just a either an inning at AAA or a sim inning, but he's going to be back soon. If mentioning and speaking of Mentor, if mentioning well, that's not for him. That's Mentor. This injury report is brought to you by Gerber and Holder, attorneys who only represent injured workers, sponsoring this injury report. Just like these Braves, if you've been hurt on the job, go to www.gerberholderlaw.com. That's GERBERHOLDER law.com. And we appreciate them sponsoring our injury report. The injury report is pretty thin right now. Unfortunately, the Braves are not making the most of getting these guys back.
Yeah.
That was brutal, man. They had a terrific, another great start from Max. Schwellenbach got knocked around. His second one was not nearly as good as his first one. And the connecting thread to all of this really is the offense. I mean, they'll have one game where you think, okay, they're getting it back. They scored, like today, they scored a run in the first inning. They look like they might do like last year. And then it just peters out, and they don't take advantage of a lot of opportunities. And they were going against a kid today it was his second major league start, and he was all over the place. And I thought when he almost hit Kelenic, he threw him inside. Then the next pitch almost hit Kelenic in the face, and Kelenic bitched at him, yelled at back, "What are you doing, man?" And then the kid's next pitch was a 94 fastball that he bounced 10 feet in front of the plate and to the right, overthrowing, trying to correct it. So I thought, okay, this guy's on the ropes. They're going to knock him out now. And they didn't, you know. Those are the kind of guys that they blew up last year, and they're not doing it. And they're also not hitting good pitchers very well. But Matt Olson's hit a lot better recently, but he struck out 3 times today. So it's still kind of one step forward, 2 steps back with some guys or with the team in general. But they've just been able to put nothing together with any consistency. I was looking at it today. They had 8 All-Stars last year, 2 of them pitchers, 6 position players. Every one of the 8 is either hurt or has struggled mightily this year.
Yeah.
The 2 pitchers were Spencer Strider, and our guy that's at AAA right now, Bryce Elder, who's got a 6 ERA and 5 starts this year in the big leagues, I think. The 6 position players was the entire infield, plus Acuna, plus Murphy. So you got Murphy missed 2 months. Acuna's out for the season. He struggled before he got hurt. Murphy has struggled like crazy since he got back. He hit the bomb last night, so maybe that'll help him get going. That was the first real ball he's hit with authority since he got back. He crushed it. Then he was off today, and they're off tomorrow before they play Tuesday at Baltimore. So maybe that'll get him going. We'll see. But he's done nothing in the 10 games since he got back, except until that home run. Arcia, taking a step back this year, had the best year of his career last year.
Yeah.
He's doing really nothing this year. He can't get going anything going. Austin Riley, I keep thinking he's hitting the ball hard. He's going to get results. Now he's not really hitting that many balls hard right now. So I don't know, man. It's just not a good sense of things about to change with his team. I think we're both confident they will, but it's taking a lot longer than I expected.
Yeah, I'm getting tired of being reassuring, it's just how the game is, though. It just, for me, it just speaks to how important momentum is and confidence, like I said. But if the offense is rolling, then there's less pressure on the bottom. And it's like all these guys had either career years or some of the best years of their career last year. When that's happening up and down your lineup, there's this effect on the other pitcher. They're beat up by the time they get to 7, 8, 9. And then when 7, 8, 9 are hot, they got to start all over, and they got runners on for the top. Like, lineups, just when they get hot and they flow like that, I mean, they were able to carry that momentum the entire season last year. There wasn't ever, I don't remember a time where we were questioning, like, what's wrong with the offense. It was a game or two, and then 8 spot, and then another bad game, and then score 12 in 3 games.
Yep. They didn't have any stretch even close to what they're going through now. you don't win 104 games having a stretch like this. They're 9-15 in their last 24. They've scored 3 or fewer in 14 of those games, and would have had it again today if Kelenic doesn't hit a 3-run homer in the 9th inning.
Yep.
They were down 8-2. He hits a 3-run homer. He hits it off Jordan Weems, and I have no idea why Davey brought in Jordan Weems to start that ninth, because the Braves had Harris, Kelenic, and Arcia switch hitting Arcia, not Arcia, Ozzie switch hitting Arcia, and then Arcia. But they had 2 lefties and a switch hitter coming up. And Weems is terrible this year against lefties. Lefties are hitting 400 and OPS and 1,000 against him. Sure enough, Harris gets a single, and then he walks Arcia, who got 2 walks today after having 2 walks like the last 20-some games. Arcia's had not walking all. He walked twice today. And then Kelenic hits a 3-run homer off. But Weems has been terrible against lefties. I think they were just so comfortable with the lead. Probably wanted to get Weems some work today because they're, probably due to get some work. But
you're not going to get better against him if you don't face him. And you got a 5-run lead?
Yeah. 6-run lead.
6-run lead. So that's the time where you go get your work in, and so gets a save if you don't.
So they brought Finnegan in, and boom, 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 fly out, routine fly out with Ozuna and Riley, and then he strikes out Olson. 3rd strikeout for Olson today. He's been better lately, but still got a lot of strikeouts, like 33 in his last 28 games, I think it is. But this stretch, they're hitting, in that stretch I just said the night, they're hitting like 219 in there with less than a homer a game. Again, they're on this pace. That's what they've been on all year, basically less than a homer a game, right under, after hitting 307 homers last year. So almost 2 a game last year with basically the same guys. I mean, Acuna's out now, but he only had 4 before he got hurt. But it's just a team-wide malaise, man, offensively, with the notable exception of Ozuna.
Yeah, he hasn't cooled off. But
no, not at all.
I can say with confidence, even if they were, pitching twice as good, it would not be as fun to watch as the last couple seasons. I mean, it just shows you how blessed everybody was that was involved with this team for these few years of offense that was just ridiculous. I mean, those games are so fun to watch. Where
it's fun to watch.
It's tough. It's tough to watch a team where you get down 3-0 in the second, and you're like, we might be out of this thing. It's so much more fun. I mean, I watched a lot more of the entire games last year, waiting for the team to come back and wondering how they were going to do it, but almost knowing they were going to do it. When they can come back 6-0, felt like they'll find a way. And this year's been the opposite. It's not as fun to watch.
And they're having great pitching, like 3 out of 5 days, 3 out of 6 days. But you're right though. It's so much more enjoyable watching a team that's hitting like crazy, never out of it, and getting mediocre pitching than it is to watch a team getting great pitching. But if they score 5 runs, it's a big day. Yeah. Those teams are tough to watch, man.
Yeah, and that's how Seattle out here is. I mean, they have an incredible pitching staff, but they haven't really scored, and their games haven't been like I've been watching more because they're doing better, but their games are not like those Braves games we've been watching the last few years, where something electric happens every night. They're fighting to score runs every night, and they're winning, and it's still not that fun.
Yeah, so Olson leads the majors last year with 54 and 139 RBIs, hit 283, 993 OPS. He's hitting 239 with 9 homers, 34 RBIs, and a 750 OPS, even though 834 in the last 30 days. Riley, he's the big one, man, because he's Mr. Consistency over the previous 3 years. Even though he would get hot streaks,
no slumps, yeah.
At the end of the year, he had the same great numbers every year. So he's hitting 230 with 3 homers, 20 RBIs, 648 OPS in 50 games. Over the last 3 seasons before this one, he hit 286, 878 OPS, averaged 36 homers and 99 RBIs.
We're getting kind of deep to catch up to those.
We're 63. We got 99 left.
Yeah.
Albie's he's hitting 265, 4 homers, 725 OPS, 55 games. He hit 280 with 33 homers and 849 OPS last year in 148. Murphy, he's hit 147, 1 homer, 481 OPS. Granted, only 10 games, but he hit 306 with 17 homers and a 999 OPS before the All-Star break last year.
Wow.
17 homers and a 999 OPS in 67 games before the break. He fell off like sub 600 in the second half, but his numbers were still great because his first half was so incredible.
Yeah, and that's
Arcia,
kind of what you got to hope for is that,
yeah,
we're talking about this terrible second half, but they were so
second
good.
half they flip
Or
it.
terrible first half, and they were so great in the
Right.
second half that you forget about this.
Arcia followed his career best season with a dud so far. He's hit 230, 635 OPS in 63 games. His past 23, he's hit 195 with 24 strikeouts, 4 walks. 2 of those were today. I mean, he's really fall off this year. So that's where the 6 position player all-stars, and I mentioned the 2 pitchers. So it's crazy. Ozuna didn't make the All-Star team, remember, last year because of that April. He played well enough in May and June to make it, but by then he was already so far behind, so he didn't make it. Right now, he's the only position player on this team that deserves to make it or will. I don't think anybody, Acuna might have been voted in just because of name,
Yeah.
but I don't think any of their other names are going to get voted in with the numbers they have. I think Ozuna will make it, obviously. He'll get named to it if he's not voted. Or they don't vote. Do they vote DH? I forget. But Sale and Lopez have both pitched well enough, and I think Fried is getting his numbers there too, where he's pitched well enough. So
Yeah,
those
he's
3
had some
pitchers,
standout games, those high
Right.
strikeout games will get you noticed.
right? So Fried with the name and great since after the first 2 starts. But really, it's Ozuna and 3 pitchers, and that's it. And probably maybe 2 of those pitchers, if not all 3 of them are going to make it from same rotation, I don't think, with the team record being what it is. But Ozuna will. But it's going to be from 8 All-Stars last year to maybe 2 or 3 this year.
Yeah. I've been thinking, watching some of the games, there's been a lot of balls to the track though. I can't get over it, and I know they tweak the balls a lot, but it seems like the balls are not flying the same this year.
It doesn't. And the weird thing is that's affecting the Braves more so. I mean, it's not weird in that the Braves are built for slugging and home runs.
Yeah.
So you would think it would affect them more than it affects a team with a more balanced offense. But my thing is some of these games where the Braves are hitting balls to the track, like Olson, the guys on the other teams are hitting them into the stands. And that's what's weird, even though the Braves are getting sometimes like CJ Nitkowski pointed something out the other day. The Braves exit velo, their balls hit above like 95 or 8 miles an hour are going 15 feet shorter this year than last year, whereas other teams are going like 8 feet shorter. It's really weird, man. There's weird shit happening with this team.
Yeah.
Bad luck and some bad mojo, man. I don't know.
Well, I think like a guy like Arcia would be the guy that I would think would get affected the most by it, or even Olson, who has that ability to flip the ball out the other way.
Right.
When he goes the other way for a homer, it's not 20 rows deep.
Right.
It's 5, but he has that ability to stay through it. And that goal with your swing of staying inside it and driving it to left center, you get away from that a little bit when you fly out to the track a few times. Maybe you swing harder, maybe you want to pull the ball a little bit more. Arcia, he doesn't hit balls 30 rows deep.
He hits fence scrapers. You're right. Arcia does.
So maybe he has 5 more or 4 more or something like that, and that affects your confidence and it affects your approach. I mean, I think I talked about it on a previous episode, but if you look at like Adrian Beltre's career, when he went to Safeco, and the ball started dying, I mean, his whole approach kind of got out of whack. And then he gets out of there, he goes to Fenway, short portion left. You miss a ball, it's still a double because that fence is tall and so short.
Yeah.
He turns into a Hall of Famer. Or goes right back to being a Hall of Famer. But that when the ball's not flying, it just really affects your confidence and your ability to trust that I can swing easy and hit it out the other way. And so many players say how important it is to drive the ball the other way, and that keeps their direction and swing locked in.
Riley's one of them. He's all about hitting it the other way, hitting it to right center. But remember, they started that this season, and it was like they were just picking up where they left off last year. Those first 3 weeks, they were doing the same thing. First month, even. They hit 283, slugged 467, averaged 6 runs a game in their 18-6 start, at the best record in the majors. Since then, they've hit 219, averaged 3.5 runs, and have lost 21 of 38 games. So, started out doing it same. And by the way, slugging across baseball is down this year, like 20 points, 15 to 20 points. So it's down quite a bit, like where the Braves slugged 501 last year, first team in history to slug 500 or better for a full season. This year, the leader is like 456, 460. So it's down, and nobody's doing what the Braves were doing last year. But the Braves are down over 100 points off last year.
And the crazy thing is last year didn't seem unmaintainable. You know what I mean? When you were watching
Right.
it, you weren't like, these guys aren't that good. They can't keep this up. But I guess maybe if you're setting a record for team slugging percentage over a whole season, it's a pretty rare year. So I think they fall somewhere in the middle. I think that they're definitely not as bad as they've been, but you might not get
Right.
another
Right.
year like this out of them, like last year.
Yeah, I mean, and we were saying at the time, it wasn't like anybody on the team was having, well, Olson's home runs and RBIs became kind of crazy, and so did Acuna's. But most of
Yeah,
the guys like Riley
you've seen him do it.
were having the same years they had. And on Ozzy was having just a top of his uh type of year, but it wasn't a
Yeah,
crazy year
yeah,
for him. It was only Acuna and Olson really put up insane numbers.
yeah. If Arcia would have hit 45 out of nowhere, or Ozuna hit 391. Like these things
Murphy's
that don't.
stats
Yeah,
stayed the same by the end of the year.
yeah.
Darno.
Nobody was doing something you didn't think they could repeat. Maybe not 40-70, I guess. That's tough.
Oh man, remember we were talking about though he still hasn't peaked out yet. And anyway, the Orioles are slugging 452. They're leading the majors. The next is Yankees at 438, and they're like I mean the Yankees are a big time slugging team this year, and that's 63 points below what the Braves did last year. 63.
Yeah, and they got a squad in a small park. I mean, that just right there emphasizes
Right, a
that.
ridiculous park. Yeah.
Yeah.
So you can tell that it's down. Slugging is down. Home runs are down. But it doesn't explain everything the Braves are doing because they're down relatively. The Braves are ninth in the majors in slugging, just ahead of the Guardians, who have no home run hitters. The Braves are slugging 401. They slugged 501 last year. 100 points, man.
Yeah,
But
I mean, I keep checking the box score, waiting, and it's like, shit, am I checking yesterday's game? No way they did that. They didn't score again, and yeah,
yeah, yeah.
I don't have an answer for it.
The one thing that stayed strong and keep getting better is the three guys in that rotation, the top three
Yeah,
guys, man. Like Sale had a bad outing, and he comes back with two good ones. Fried has been fantastic. Lopez has been the most consistent guy in a rotation. That rotation right now is, well, it's 13th with a 3.89, but so much of that is the fourth and fifth guys. If you could do a top three rotation, Braves would be up there with the Phillies and the Mariners. We can't do that. So
yeah.
Braves got to figure
I thought
out.
Waldrop showed. I mean, I know he gave it up, but I thought he looked pretty good. His stuff.
I did too. That split is everything.
Yeah,
The hype, it's not hype, it's real. I mean, that's that. I thought CJ had a great stat too, showed on the broadcast today. His split, they put the lowest spin rate of all the guys who've thrown a certain number of splitters in the majors this year. Lowest spin rate. His spin rate is lower than the lowest splitter spin rate in the majors, which is great for a splitter because the movement he's going to get,
yeah.
almost like knuckleballish, what it can do to drop. He threw a couple of them that were totally unhittable. I mean, but a second time through the order was a different thing, like it is with a lot of these young guys, because they had a better feel for him.
Yeah.
They spat on some pitches, and that fastball is going to have to locate it better. It's a really good fastball, but he can't miss with it right over the plate.
Yeah, and this is what we were talking about before he got called up, of like, this is the level he needs to be at to get made pay. Because the
Yeah.
first time a AAA lineup sees that split, it's the only thing they're talking about, and they're probably coming out of their approach.
Yeah.
The major league lineup, it doesn't matter really what they're looking for. They get a heater middle, they know how to hit it. They do damage, and you don't get away with the same mistakes in the majors.
And they get ahead in the count, and it's like I'm not going to swing at that. I've seen it now. I got a better idea what it is. It comes out of his hand real similar, tunneling like the fastball. That's the key to it. But still, the big league hitters is just different, man. He had struck out 11 and walked one in his only AAA start this year. And he's facing a Nats team, which, while is a lot better than it was, is still not one of the better hitting teams in baseball.
Yeah.
And they hit some good pitches. and he had
But
some bad pitches.
not a lot of guys get sent down from AAA and go hit in the 8 and 9 hole. You know, so
Right,
those are your middle of the order hitters, and so you basically facing a AAA
right.
All-Star team. And so that's why it's there. There's not those easy outs, and there's not those only few hitters you got to focus at. That level jump's tough, and that was a big thing for me. Was like, you know, I could just get free sliders for strikes. I could hitters wouldn't sit on pitches really in the minors, and they didn't have as strong and steady of an approach against you. It was kind of more like just randomness, right? So if you made
Yeah,
good pitches, you got outs, and then you get up to the big leagues, and a guy sees you throw a bunch of sliders to the hitter in front of him. He just goes up and sits on it. You fall behind the counter, you
yeah.
get ahead. He's like, I'm still looking for that. So they have that. That's what gets them out of AAA. That ability to make you pay on bad pitches. If you make great pitches, they play anywhere from rookie ball all the way to the majors. But in the big leagues is where your bad ones get hit.
So he ends up today with a line that was 3 2/3. Keep in mind, he faced the minimum through 3.
Yeah.
He gave up a hit and an error. Got erased those with a double play and a pickoff. I love how fast he is to the plate too. It's kind of the opposite of Kerr.
Mm-hmm.
He gives the catcher a good chance because that throw out, that pick caught stealing was easy.
Wasn't even close.
He's really quick to the plate. I love his rhythm. I
Yep.
love his demeanor. He looks like he belongs out there. He didn't look lost, deer lost in the headlights, none of that. He's put together. You know, he's not a kid
No.
and stuff. He topped out at 98, and that's with 98 and that split, and then decent couple of other pitches. I think he could put it together real soon. I hope they keep him up. And I hope give him another chance. They're giving Schwellenbach another start after his last one was pretty bad. He's going to make another one Wednesday at Baltimore. No easy task. There'll be his 3rd start. But I like both of these guys. They look a lot more ready than, say, AJ did last year. I just
Mm-hmm.
think both of them look a lot ready, especially Hurston.
Yeah, and I think you're doing players, especially starters. I think you're doing them a misservice, just disservice by calling them up and sending them down.
Yeah. After
Because
one start, get knocked, their dick knocked off, and they go down, no confidence.
yeah, then when you get called back up, you start right where you start over again. But if you can have that one and then roll the good one out there, and then maybe the next one's okay, you kind of
Mm-hmm.
get your momentum going and figuring out the league. And you know, maybe it was just an off day for you, and that's gets to be the only impression you make. You know, I think if a guy's that important, you give him at least 2 or 3. And if they're all bad, then we know what you got
Right.
to work on now.
Right. Yeah, so I thought Waldrop, this line is not indicative of all of how he pitched today because he goes 3 2/3, 4 hits, 7 runs, 4 walks, 1 strikeout, a home run. 3 of the runs scored because he leaves with the bases loaded. Bummer comes in and gives up a bases clearing double. And I know Bummer's beating himself up right now. He takes that shit hard, and he's had a few of those where he's given up runs, inherited runs, and those experienced guys that have been around a long time. You guys hate that shit, don't you? I mean, that's the hardest
Oh,
thing,
it's
and then
so
giving up inherited runs.
that's what you pride yourself the most on as a reliever. Like that, there were some years where, you know, I had a good year, but the thing I wanted people to talk about was 1 of 26 inherited runners or
Right.
some number like that. That's the thing you're the most proud of. And you're, especially amongst relievers. Like we had a year where Moilo Cashman runs in every time he came in for me. And he couldn't have felt worse, but there's nothing. I mean, it just worked out that way. He's not doing it on purpose. And I had to just tell him it's okay. And
Yeah.
then I'd come in for him and save his ass every time. So
Yeah.
it flip flopped the next year, but sometimes that's just the way it goes. But it's tough because you're probably a little sleepy down there when the starters face the minimum through 3.
Yeah.
You know, you probably
Yeah.
got ready in a hurry, like when it falls apart that quick.
And it was quick.
You get ready quick, you're kind of rattled, and you don't have time to have that calm warm up and know when you're pitching. Those quick rush jobs sometimes, I mean,
Yeah.
you
4th
never
inning.
really get there. Yeah. And you
But
got your
Bummer hadn't
feet
pitched
up.
a lot in the 4th inning.
No, and not he definitely didn't pitch a lot in the 4th inning when the starter was at however many pitches and
Right.
rolling. You're
Yeah.
just
He
never
was
expecting to
cruising.
come in.
He was cruising. I'm like, this kid keeps this up. He might go 7 innings today.
And that's why those last few spots in the bullpen are the toughest ones. Because a game like that happens, the closer still got his feet up. He knows when he's pitching. But you could have that game where you just have to stand up and start throwing your arms around and jogging a little bit, throwing as hard as you can, as fast as you can. You still got to get ready in probably less than 5 minutes and you're in the game. 2 minutes later, you're talking about 2 minutes ago, you're talking about what you're going to eat tonight.
Yeah.
You're not even locking in and starting your routine yet. 5 minutes after that, you're in the game.
Yeah.
Those are the tough ones.
And yeah, they got to take a bus over to Baltimore and have an off day. Right now, probably don't want another off day. Second off day on this trip, weird trip.
Yeah.
But yeah, you looking at that kid, and the kid leaves the game with it's already bad enough with 4 runs, and then there's all of a sudden 7 on his first start of his career. So anyway, it was a rough day. And we talk about how bad it is, and I know the fans are really just so frustrated, and they live and die with this team. They've gotten so spoiled. All of us have watching this team the last few years, but the fans, they so much of some of them invest so much in a team,
Mm-hmm.
and how well the team does. It's such a big part of their life. I mean, it's like for a lot of them, it's the only team they really care about once they get out of college and all that. So it's tough for them, and they all want to know what's the answers, what's wrong, what can this team do? And I'm like, hey, if anybody had the answers, much less some reporter, yeah, we wouldn't be doing this. But when their manager and the hitting coach, who are very accomplished themselves, can't supply an answer, and the players, all stars, some of them can't supply answers. It's baseball. It happens. I mean, I know you don't want to hear that, but there are no answers to give you. There are no pat answers. If there were, they would have already fixed it.
Yeah,
But I think
they're not working.
And I think when it does, as long as this is lasting, and it's lasted a long time, you could go to Baltimore and have 3 great games and win 10-2 and 8-1, and sweep the Orioles, and all of a sudden it's like now we're rolling. It could happen like
That's why
that.
it's so tough, because you have to maintain that attitude and believe that, and the game will test you and tell you it's never coming back, buddy.
Yeah.
Like the ones that get sucked into that and can't stay level and get through this phase, those are the guys that don't play very long.
Right.
And the guys that can handle this, I mean, you eventually get out of it if you keep working hard and have a good attitude and you're open-minded on what you might be doing wrong. You're not stuck in your ways. Those are the guys that fight and get out of it and turn it around. And I think it's the same with teams. If you have good leadership that's not panicking.
Yeah.
And I don't think Snit's panicking, but bullpens are the toughest. When you have a manager that every time you pitch bad, you go to the back of the line.
Yeah.
That amplifies the pressure by a million, because every time you pitch, you're like, shit, I'm never going to see the 8th inning again if I give it up right now.
Right.
Instead of focused on competing, you're trying to prove yourself. And that's just how the game is. You just have to stay level. And I think the fans are getting a taste of how hard that is right now.
Yeah, I know he hasn't snapped yet. He hasn't gotten short in these post games, but I know he's tired of answering the same questions because we're tired of asking him. But
he's not sleeping the same, I'm guessing, as normal.
I bet not. And I know Seitzer's not. I know he ain't sleeping.
He is not. Yeah, I mean, last year we were like, "Where's his extension at?"
Yeah, exactly.
And he's probably thinking the same thing. Now you're like, "Shit!"
Now fans want him fired.
I might be, looking for a job next year.
Right. I mean, it's crazy, man. The fandom is what it is, and I understand people are fanatics. That's why they're fans, the passion and all that. But everybody was saying, everybody extend Alex, keep him here for life. Yeah. Now there are some saying Alex has got to go. Alex got to be asked about this roster construction. I'm like, what do you want us to ask him about it?
Yeah,
the same team that last year. Yeah, exactly. What do you want him to ask us about? Why don't you have some guys that can bunt? What are you going to ask him? Why aren't the guys that did so well last year doing well this year? You're going to ask Snit?
See it coming?
Why don't you yell, Snit? Why don't you yell at him so they'll start hitting like they did last year?
Yeah.
Anyway. All right. Well, 3 games in Baltimore. I'm flying up there on Tuesday. I'm looking forward to being in Camden. We haven't been in Camden Yards in a long time. And it don't get any easier for the Braves. You go from 6 games, which I thought they could win, 4 out of them, at least with Boston and DC, to facing the Orioles at home. It's a tough draw. So we'll see what they do. See how they come back from a second off day on one road trip. I know they're not going to be happy to walking around tomorrow.
You get to see that weird left field project they did too.
Yeah. Yeah.
It'd be a lot nicer for the Braves if they left that fence where it was.
Yep. All right. Thanks, everybody. We appreciate it.